Welcome to Audit the Audit, where we sort out the who and what and the right and wrong of police interactions. This episode covers the Fourth Amendment, police vehicles, and misconduct complaints, and is brought to us by Frickin' Media's channel. Be sure to check out the description below and give them the credit that they deserve. On February 9th, 2022, First Amendment Auditor Steve Jones was driving with a friend in Utica, Michigan, with their dash cams recording, when another motorist pulled beside them and motioned for them to pull over. They stopped at a Marathon gas station, and the other driver exited his vehicle and approached them to complain about being videotaped. The motorist eventually called the police and claimed that the auditors were threatening him. Sergeant Greg Morabito of the Utica Police Department responded to the call in an unmarked vehicle.
Hello. Hi. What's going on?
We didn't call you.
I don't answer questions. He did.
Okay, we'll go talk to him.
No, I'm going to be talking
No,
to
you're
you.
not going to talk to me.
Yeah,
You ain't gonna talk to me at all. I ain't got to say to you. Not nothing. So go talk to the guy that called you. Isn't that procedure? When a complaining party calls, you go talk to the complaining party?
No, you don't get
Sure it is. Sure it is. Sure it is. Go talk to him. He'll tell you what's going on. And then you can be like, oh, nothing illegal's going on. I can go back to doing my real job.
Close your hood.
No. Don't touch our vehicle.
You are.
Our vehicle.
Listen,
Don't touch our
listen to
vehicle.
me.
You didn't pull us over.
Yes, I
No,
did.
you did not. We was parked here, idiot. We were parked here.
Okay.
You didn't pull us over. Don't try that shit. The hell's wrong with you? He says he pulled us over.
Really?
No, we was parked here.
Hey, look. Do you not see my lights?
I don't give a shit about your lights. I don't give a shit about your lights. You ain't pull us over when we're parked because we didn't commit a traffic violation, idiot. You're a dummy.
Mr. Jones argues that Sergeant Morabito could not have pulled them over because they were already parked and did not commit a traffic violation. By definition, police officers cannot, quote-unquote, pull over vehicles that have already stopped. But in some situations, they can detain the drivers of parked vehicles. While all traffic stops are considered seizures for Fourth Amendment purposes, no such bright-line rule exists for parked vehicles. The Supreme Court summarized in the 2002 case of United States v. Drayton that, quote, law enforcement officers do not violate the Fourth Amendment's prohibition of unreasonable seizures merely by approaching individuals on the street or in other public places and putting questions to them if they are willing to listen. If a reasonable person would feel free to terminate the encounter, then he or she has not been seized. When this standard is applied to a traffic stop, as the Supreme Court explained in the 1984 case of Berkemer v. McCarty, quote, few motorists would feel free either to disobey a directive to pull over or to leave the scene of a traffic stop without being told they might do so. Partly for these reasons, we have long acknowledged that stopping an automobile and detaining its occupants constitute a seizure within the meaning of the Fourth Amendment, even though the purpose of the stop is limited and the resulting detention quite brief. However, when it comes to officers approaching parked vehicles, courts consider some interactions to be quote-unquote consensual if they conclude that a reasonable person would feel free to terminate the encounter, while other interactions are deemed Fourth Amendment seizures. In Michigan, a primary factor as to whether a police interaction involving a parked vehicle is a non-consensual seizure is the location where the officer parks their vehicle. In the 2021 case of People v. Duff, the Michigan Court of Appeals held that an individual in a parked car was not seized when a police vehicle parked in such a way that allowed the driver to leave with quote-unquote some maneuvering. The court explained that absent other coercive behavior on the part of the officer, quote, a police officer can initiate a consensual encounter by parking his police vehicle in a manner that allows the defendant to leave. In this situation, a court would likely conclude that Sergeant Morabito detained the auditors, despite the fact that he did not park in a manner that prevented them from driving their vehicle away, based on his other coercive conduct. However, a court would also likely determine that Sergeant Morabito had the reasonable suspicion necessary to detain the auditors based on the allegations of threats from the other driver.
Hell, I was behind my car when I pulled in here.
Right.
You pull somebody over with
Right.
a hand outside your car.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, when you pull somebody over, you have to tell them what you pulled them over for. So if you don't have articulable suspicion,
We got a complaint that there's a threat
I don't care.
here. So yeah,
I don't care what he
have,
said.
And I'm going to be
people don't lie.
identifying
People,
you.
no,
I
you
will
won't.
be-
Oh, no, you will
yes,
not.
I
You ain't
will.
getting my ID
You
numb
watch
nuts.
this. Oh, yes,
You ain't getting my
watch
ID numb nuts. I promise you.
I don't answer your questions either. You must think I'm stupid.
You are
I don't
stupid.
answer your questions
You're
either.
doing a good enough job proving that right now.
Yeah. He done proved how stupid he
Boy,
is.
you guys are brilliant.
Obviously smarter than you are.
Hey,
Wrong.
you can get away from the car. You can bite that. You can get away from
Hey, keep your hands to yourself. Keep your hands to yourself.
No, you don't.
Put your hands on people. What the hell's wrong with you, dude? That badge done went to your little head, didn't it?
Take a walk. Go get away from
You
my
take a
car.
walk. I'll stand where
Get
I want
away
to
from my
stand.
car.
I'll stand.
It ain't your car.
He says get away from my
Get away.
car.
We pay for it.
Yeah,
He said get
okay.
away from my
Get away.
car. Don't the taxpayers
Get
fund
away.
for the,
No.
don't the taxpayers pay for that
No,
car?
that one's mine.
That's your personal?
Yep.
But it's
Yep.
being used. It's being used in public service. So it's a public vehicle. Here's the VIN number. We'll find out. Yeah.
One of the auditors approaches Sergeant Morabito's unmarked vehicle to film inside the open door, and Sergeant Morabito orders him to stand back and shoves him away. As we have discussed many times on ATA, courts have consistently held that the First Amendment protects both the right to film police officers exercising their official duties in public and to film in public in general. And while officers may issue orders that incidentally impact an individual's exercise of the First Amendment right to film for safety purposes, as the First Circuit explained in the 2014 case of Garricky versus Begin, quote, "A police order that is specifically directed at the First Amendment right to film police performing their duties in public may be constitutionally imposed only if the officer can reasonably conclude that the filming itself is interfering or is about to interfere with his duties." Here, a court would likely conclude that the auditors were within their rights to record Sergeant Morabito's vehicle, and anything within it that was visible from a public vantage point, which would make Sergeant Morabito's use of force in shoving one of the auditors away from his vehicle an unreasonable and unconstitutional instance of excessive force. Sergeant Morabito also states that the unmarked vehicle he's driving, which is equipped with red and blue flashing lights, is his personal property and not a government-owned vehicle. If this statement is true, the situation is not only unusual, but potentially illegal. Under Section 257.698 of the Michigan compiled laws, quote, "The use or possession of flashing, oscillating, or rotating lights of any color is prohibited except as otherwise provided by law. A police vehicle must be equipped with flashing, rotating, or oscillating red or blue lights for use in the performance of police duties." Furthermore, Section 257.603 of the Michigan compiled laws specifies that, quote, "Only police vehicles that are publicly owned shall be equipped with a flashing, oscillating, or rotating blue light that, when activated, is visible under normal atmospheric conditions from a distance of 500 feet in a 360-degree arc." Therefore, a court could conclude that the installation of the flashing emergency lights on Sergeant Morabito's personal vehicle violated Michigan law, depending on the light's visibility.
Yeah, Sarge, you need to put this little in check. Put this little in check.
Hey, you ever hear of
Spit it out, it ain't yours. Spit it out, it ain't yours.
Public? Don't
It's called
swear
freedom
in
of
public.
speech. Now what?
You, this is freedom of speech.
Yeah, you're right, it is, but you don't have those freedoms when you're on duty, idiot. You have duties, not rights, dummy.
You're gonna get some time off for that one.
Yeah, you are. You're definitely getting some time off for that one, partner. Oh, yeah. Watch the complaints come in. Watch the phone calls roll in. Don't touch
Don't
it.
even think about touching that.
You don't get to get our...
Your property. Hey, get your hands off of him.
Get the off my
Get
car.
your hands
Don't
off.
touch our car.
King John 5:1.
Don't touch the car. Yeah, you'll get a complaint too. Wow, y'all are a bunch of tyrants up here, ain't you? Bunch of tyrants. Yeah, I'm coming for your job.
Come for it.
I am.
Come for it.
I'm
You
coming
think
for
you're
your
really
job.
gonna come
I'm
my
coming
job
for your
before?
job.
My phone ain't broke.
10
It's
feet.
$1,000 phone.
10 feet.
Phone.
10 feet. Stay 10 feet away from me.
$1,000 phone.
Bring it.
You're a little sucker. You ain't without that badge and gun, punk. You ain't without that badge and gun. You ain't without it.
Dismissed. You're dismissed. I'm
Little-
sitting here. I'm
little-
freedom of speech.
Little Willie the Munchkin.
Here you go.
Oh, now it's an
Now
unlawful
what are you gonna do?
detainment, you idiot.
I'm just letting you know you need to back up.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Guys, give me
You
a
tell
second
him to
here.
back off.
I am. Give me a second here.
Good.
You're not
Tell
helping
him to
the
back off.
situation.
Now he's blocking the vehicle. That's unlawful
sorry.
detainment.
Let him talk to him.
Move. Can you guys move and
No,
just let
I
me do
don't
my
have to
job,
move.
please? Put the dog back on a leash.
Yeah, put him on a leash.
We're not taking your complaint today. You have to come back tomorrow to make your complaint. You can make as many complaints as you want tomorrow.
I think you need to just take yourself out of the situation because right now what you have is a conflict of interest.
Okay, for right now, you're loitering.
So you need to go away.
2 minutes. You have
At the police station, Sergeant Morabito and the other officers refuse to accept the auditor's complaints, inform them that they can file their complaints tomorrow, and give them 2 minutes to leave the station. Generally, the policies and procedures for filing police misconduct complaints are set by individual police agencies and departments. While the Utica PD's policy on how citizens can file complaints is not publicly available, it is difficult to imagine that their policy allows officers to refuse to accept a complaint and demand that citizens return the following day if they wish to file a complaint. In a 2021 collaborative white paper on building trust between the police and the community, Chief Ronald Haddad of the Dearborn, Michigan Police Department argued that, quote, citizens should be made comfortable to report any and all complaints. The white paper also presented the Dearborn Police Department's bias-free policy as an example of best practices. The policy, quote, mandates a commitment to unbiased, equitable treatment of all persons, and unequivocally prohibits discriminatory practices. Equally important, this policy includes sections on the duty to report observed violations by other members, a prohibition on delaying or discouraging citizens from making complaints, and a requirement for supervisors to continuously monitor their personnel to ensure compliance. Other Michigan police departments that have made information on filing complaints publicly available provide multiple options for how individuals can file complaints in a clear effort to ensure that citizens who want to make a complaint are able to do so. For instance, the Detroit Police Department's website states that, quote, if you have a concern regarding the performance of any Detroit Police Department employee, you have a right to file a complaint by letter, telephone, online, fax, or in person through any entity of the police department, or in person at the OCI. Similarly, the Ann Arbor PD's website explains that, quote, to file a complaint and or compliment an employee, contact Lieutenant Corey Mills of the Professional Standards section by coming in person to the police department, contacting us by writing, or by phone. If the Professional Standards section lieutenant is not available, please contact the Patrol Command Desk. Regardless of whether Sergeant Morabito and the other Utica officers violated policy by refusing to accept the auditor's complaints, it clearly did not comply with police best practices and only served to discourage and delay the filing of a complaint.
You have 2 minutes to leave.
We just need names and badge numbers and we'll leave.
Decided 2 minutes. If you can't read, I don't know what to tell you. My name is
I
right
don't
there.
see
That's
your
all
badge
you need.
number.
You don't need
That's
it.
Sergeant right there.
Right there. That's my last name. Right there. Film it.
Here's my...
When Mr. Jones continues to argue, Sergeant Morabito handcuffs him and places him under arrest. According to Mr. Jones, he was slammed against a wall during the arrest, causing a laceration to his shoulder. In an interview with a local paper, he stated that he was released after approximately 1 hour and that the officers berated and ridiculed him while he was in custody. Mr. Jones has retained an attorney and intends to pursue criminal and civil charges. On February 15, 2022, Mr. Jones posted another YouTube video where he visited the Macomb County Sheriff Department to file a criminal complaint. Upon arriving at the station, Mr. Jones discovered that the department had been attempting to reach him, as the deputy chief of Utica PD requested that they investigate the potential criminal aspects of the encounter. In addition to the Macomb County Sheriff's investigation, Sergeant Morabito was placed on paid leave, while the Utica PD conducts its own internal investigation. As of the date of this episode, both investigations are still pending. Overall, Sergeant Morabito gets an F for maintaining a hostile, unprofessional, and out-of-control demeanor throughout the encounter, refusing to accept the auditor's complaints, and likely using excessive amounts of force on more than one occasion. When the auditors responded to his inquiries with hostility, Sergeant Morabito reacted by matching and escalating the aggressive nature of their conduct, rather than attempting to de-escalate the situation. It should also be noted that this is not the first time that Sergeant Morabito has been accused of using excessive force. In the 2005 case of Weissel versus City of Utica, the plaintiff alleged that Officer Morabito and his partner pushed an individual out of his vehicle and onto the ground, where they punched, kicked, and maced him. The plaintiff also alleged that he was then taken to the police station where he was hosed down with cold water, ridiculed, and called a racial slur. Although Sergeant Morabito denied the allegations in the Weissel case, there's no video footage of the encounter, and the undisputed video evidence of his behavior during his interaction with Mr. Jones and his friends on its own seriously calls into question whether Sergeant Morabito has the temperament and self-control required to be a competent police officer. This is yet another officer who appears to have allowed his ego to dictate his decision-making, and this interaction highlights the important role that officers play in setting the tone of a citizen encounter. Mr. Jones and his friends get a B Because, although they also maintained a hostile and insulting demeanor throughout the encounter, they were perfectly within their First Amendment rights to do so, and they exercised their rights to film the encounter, refused to identify themselves when it was not required, and followed up this interaction by attempting to file multiple complaints and pursuing legal action. While I cannot suggest or condone insulting or taunting another individual, including a police officer, nothing the auditors did was illegal, and the First Amendment protects the right of citizens to express dissent to police actions and to communicate offensive and challenging ideas without government retaliation. While I commend the auditors for challenging the legitimacy of Sergeant Morabito's conduct and following up this encounter with the proper legal action, their persistent name-calling and taunting certainly did not help to improve an already tense situation. And these types of encounters not only serve to build distrust between citizens and the police, but also cause officers to be wary and suspicious of the auditing community as a whole. Let us know if there is an interaction or legal topic you would like us to discuss in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out my second channel for even more police interaction content.